Alls Church, Va., a Northern Virginia man convicted nearly a decade ago of supporting the Islamic State group as a teenager, has now been accused of violating his terms of release by meeting with convicted Taliban supporter John Walker Lindh. According to court documents, the FBI photographed Ali Shukri Amin meeting with Lindh on 3 different occasions in for about 3 hours. The document does not state where the meetings occurred. The meetings violate a condition of Amin's supervised release, which bars him from meeting with known extremists, prosecutors said. The meetings could have constituted a violation of Lindh's supervised release as well when they occurred, but Lindh's term of supervised release expired last year, and he is no longer subject to supervision. It is not entirely clear why authorities used the meeting as a basis to claim a violation against Amin, but not against Lindh, given that they both were barred from meeting with extremists. The court documents show, though, that authorities had reason to be concerned about Amin beyond his meetings with Lindh. Amin, who lives in Dumfries, is also accused of corresponding online with a British individual described as a known extremist until that person was arrested in February 2022 by British authorities. In his conversations with the British individual, authorities say Amin provided guidance related to the teachings of 2 Islamic preachers considered extremists by the FBI, according to the court document. The document also accuses Amin of using a virtual private network to conceal his online activity and evade the supervision of his parole officer. Michael Jensen, an investigator with the University of Maryland's National Consortium for the Study of Terrorism and Responses to Terrorism, said terrorism defendants are assigned to veteran probation officers who devote significant time and energy to helping them transition back into their communities, and it is unusual to petition for revocation of supervised release. If a probation officer is petitioning the court to revoke supervised release, then they have significant concerns that the individual is not reintegrating into their community successfully and that they remain a potential threat. It is clear, though, that the FBI and other agencies also continue to harbor concerns about Lindh's activity, ideology, and continued radicalization after his release from prison in 2019. The court document describing Amin's meetings with Lindh state that Lindh remains a known extremist and is believed by the FBI to hold extremist ideations. Lindh was the first American to face major terrorism charges after the Sept. 11 attacks. He was convicted of supplying services to the Taliban after he was captured in Afghanistan in the weeks after the 9/11 attacks fighting with Taliban forces against the U.S.-backed Northern Alliance. He was sentenced to 20 years in prison as part of a plea deal and was released from custody in 2019 after serving about 85% of his sentence, with the remainder reduced for good behavior. Shortly before he was released, a judge imposed additional restrictions on his 3-year period of supervised release, in addition to the original conditions, which included the ban on meeting with known extremists. The new requirements included monitoring software on his internet devices, requiring that his online communications be conducted in English, and forbidding him from possessing extremist material, holding a passport, or leaving the U.S. Amin's case was notable primarily because of his age. It is rare for federal prosecutors to seek and obtain convictions against people under the age of 18. But Amin was 17 when he pleaded guilty in 2015 to helping the Islamic State group by using social media to provide advice and encouragement to the Islamic State group and its supporters under the Twitter handle Amriki Witness Amriki translates to American. He also admitted helping a classmate, 18-year-old Razan Iknejad, travel to Syria to join the Islamic State group. He was sentenced to more than 11 years in prison, but later had his sentence reduced to 6 years. Still, he filed multiple lawsuits and petitions seeking to have his conviction overturned. In one lawsuit he accuses the FBI of manipulating his underdeveloped juvenile brain and contributing to his radicalization by placing his online activities under surveillance at a young age. Even though he admitted his guilt, he argued that his online activities should have been protected free speech and that he was wrongly prosecuted based on his profession of views which do not conform to the normative scope of American bipartisan consensus. A hearing on whether to revoke Ammon S. supervised release is scheduled for Feb. 13. Ammon S. lawyer, Jessica Carmichael, declined to comment, but is expected to file a motion on her client's behalf ahead of the hearing. Judges have the option to send defendants back to prison or to extend their time on supervision, though in Ammon S. case he has already been sentenced to lifetime supervision.